The Super Bowl is over. It is officially draft season, and that means it is time for another 2023 NFL mock draft. This is the fifth one I've put out, but every one is a little bit closer to that 2023 NFL draft. So these are always fun to do, trying to project. That's the thing that I do in these. These don't always match up with my personal rankings. They're not necessarily what I would do. They're what I think each of these NFL teams are going to do in the 2023 NFL draft. So for this one, what I've decided to do is not do any trades. I honestly think the Bears are going to trade out of the number one overall pick. But for this one, I wanted to just do a straight-up mock, just picking players to teams. So no trades in this one. Probably the next one I will, but that's just kind of how it is. So I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get started. And we're starting with the Chicago Bears. And with the Chicago Bears, as I said, I'm almost certain they're going to trade out. They need so much on this team. They don't need, and one of those needs that they don't have is quarterback. And so since they don't have a quarterback, or they have that quarterback, teams potentially Bryce Young, Will Levis, C.J. Stroud moving up. I think sliding back to 2, going back to 4 are the two logical spots. But like I said, no trades. The player I'm going to have them take is Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter. I feel that that's the guy that they really want. If they're able to move back, that's why I think the Colts are so intriguing here, is Bears could still move back a couple picks and still be able to get a guy like Jalen Carter. I think if they took Will Anderson, they'd be happy as well. So, that's the team to kind of watch. But Jalen Carter is, I think, who they like the best because he is that 3 technique interior pass rusher like Matt Eberflus has had with DeForest Buckner in Indianapolis. So that's why I went there. All right, Houston Texans. This is going to be a quarterback, and I have them taking Bryce Young from Alabama. I think that he's the top-rated quarterback in this class. He seems to be the safest, but he does have injury. He got injured last year. He's small. He's going to be potentially 5'9". He's slender. Kyler Murray came out a couple years ago, and he was short, but he was a thicker quarterback. And Bryce Young isn't that. He's got that slender frame, and we've seen quarterbacks that are smaller recently struggle. Tua's struggled with injuries. Kyler Murray's struggled with injuries. Baker Mayfield was a smaller quarterback, and he's just not hit like people thought he was going to. And I think all of those things kind of hurt Bryce Young. I still have him being the number 2 pick. I still have him going to Houston. But don't rule out Will Levis here. The Houston Texans' new offensive coordinator is coming from San Francisco. Will Levis has run that Shanahan-McVay offense the past 2 years at Kentucky. His offensive coordinator this last year was Rich Scangarello, who was the quarterback's coach for the San Francisco 49ers the year before. The new offensive coordinator for the Texans has worked with Rich Scangarello multiple times. So they're going to have a big insight into Will Levis. Hey, he's got the size, he's got the arm strength, he's mobile, he's played in that system. Don't rule out Will Levis being the first quarterback taken and going to the Texans here. All right, moving on to the Cardinals. I think this one's pretty easy. I think they have a chance to move out, but I think Will Anderson sitting there is just too intriguing. They need a lot of help on that defense. Jonathan Gannon coming over from the Eagles as their new head coach. He, enjoyed a plethora of pass rushers. Cardinals don't have any, or at least don't have any like Will Anderson or like what the Eagles had, so they get that guy right there. All right, Colts. I mentioned them earlier, potentially. I honestly, if I had to put money on it right now, I would say that the Colts are the team that's going to trade up to the number 1 pick. And I don't think it's for Bryce Young. I think it's for Will Levis. The thing you got to look at with the Colts, their GM, Chris Ballard, is a traits guy. Likes certain things. Will Levis, once again, I know he didn't have the best senior year. He had some injury issues. His team wasn't as good. His situation reminds me a lot of Josh Allen. I'm not saying Will Levis is the next Josh Allen, but they've got a lot of similarities. They're both bigger. Will Levis isn't as big as Josh Allen, but he's 6'3", 240 pounds. He's an athlete. He's got a strong arm, and he was a little bit inconsistent, especially his last year in college. Josh Allen was really good his redshirt sophomore year at Wyoming. His redshirt junior, when he lost some of his better teammates, he struggled a little bit. Same thing happened with Will Levis. But he's got some traits. And if we look at Shane Steichen, the new Colts coach, he is a guy that's dealt with big physical quarterbacks. And that really fits Will Levis here. All right, pick 5, the Seattle Seahawks. Don't rule out them moving up to get a quarterback. I think Will Levis, I know a lot of the draft media isn't a big fan of him. I think NFL teams like him better than what online draft analysts like myself do. The Seahawks offensive coordinator comes from the McVay system. Will Levis played for Liam Cohen 2 years ago. John Schneider loved traits. John Schneider really liked Josh Allen. So just throwing that out there, Will Levis to the Seahawks is a possibility, especially if they trade up. But they can't, and they don't, and Will Levis is already gone. So that's why I have the Seahawks taking Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. Here's a physical freak. I mentioned John Schneider loving traits, and Tyree Wilson's got him. He's big, 6'6". He's agile. He's quick, and I think they would really like to use him as that base defensive end. Kind of almost like in the Michael Bennett role that they had so many years ago. He's that 5 technique defensive end on early downs, and then you can kind of slide him inside. He could reduce inside to a defensive tackle and just give them a good another pass rusher. All right, 6, Detroit Lions. I have them going to cornerback, and I have them taking Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, a physical, fast, instinctive corner. I had seen Witherspoon play live a few times, and he stood out. But I didn't really know what to expect when I started breaking down his tape. And as soon as I broke down the tape, I fell in love with him as a prospect. He's got everything you want. You like him to be maybe 6'2", but at 6 foot, he's got good size. He's fast. Half the time he's running the route for the receiver. He's got good ball skills. He's willing to come up and lay a hit. He, to me, is a Dan Campbell type player. And cornerbacks a need, opposite of Jeffrey Okudah. The Lions are building a team there, and I think Devin Witherspoon fits into their identity. All right, the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know if quarterback is going to be an option here. It sounds like the Raiders and Josh McDaniels maybe wants a veteran because they could feel the heat coming, so taking a rookie quarterback could delay that progress and delay their success. So I have them going to the offensive line, and I have them taking Paris Johnson Jr. Left tackle isn't a big issue. They got Colton Miller there, but right tackle is. And Paris Johnson Jr. had his best season this past year as a left tackle, But let's not forget the year before he played right guard. So he's used to the right side of the offensive line. He's got experience at tackle. He got experience at guard. I think you put him at that right tackle, and you can roll with them. Now you've got two good bookend tackles, a guy that maybe Colton Miller eventually moves on. You can move Paris Johnson Jr. to the other side. Pick 8, Atlanta Falcons. I don't think quarterback is out of the question here. I know a lot of people say, some people will say, oh, well, Desmond Ridder showed enough last year to give him a chance. I don't think he showed enough. I don't think they're going to pass on a quarterback in this class just because they took Desmond Ridder in the third round. So, but in this case, I do have them passing, and I have them going with an edge rusher, and I have them taking Myles Murphy out of Clemson. Here's a defense that, they took a couple guys last year. Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State. They took D'Angelo Malone in the mid-rounds from Western Kentucky. And those guys showed some promise, but, they need more, and they need that true down and down out premier pass rusher. And I think Myles Murphy, a guy at 6'5", he's super athletic. Maybe he still has some refining to do as a pass rusher, but I think he has all the traits that you want there. All right, pick 9, we have the Carolina Panthers. This is where I have C.J. Stroud going. The Panthers are a team that desperately need a quarterback. That was one of Matt Rule's biggest flaws at his time in Carolina, was they never got the quarterback position right. They passed on Justin Fields. They passed on other guys. And it never had that guy. And I think this new regime under Frank Wright, they know that they have to go out and get a quarterback. So I think Stroud is going to be the third guy taken. I don't know if they're going to stay at 9. Maybe that's why I didn't have the Falcons taking a quarterback there. Maybe they move up with the Lions. Maybe they move all the way up ahead of the Colts and trade with the Cardinals. But I think they're going to move up to get a quarterback. C.J. Stroud, I like a lot, but I like the other guys better. He showed some mobility against Georgia, but that was just one game. Too often, he's not a quick twitch type guy. He has to almost have that clean pocket, so that's why I like the other guys a little bit better. All right, pick 10, the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the pick that they got from the Saints. I could see them going a couple different directions, but we know that the Eagles love drafting along the offensive and defensive line. They've got some guys hitting free agency. That's why I think a guy like Lucas Van Ness from Iowa would be a great pick for them. Here's a guy who is he wasn't a starter at the beginning of the year. He's kind of a tweener. He played some on the edge. He played some inside. I think he's better off on the edge, but he's another guy that could reduce inside. And I think he's got the traits. He's got the talent to be a stud pass rusher in this league. Going to the Eagles would be a best-case scenario for him because he doesn't have to come in and be a down in and down out starter for the Eagles. He can come in and learn behind guys like Josh Sweat and them and be that guy. Once again, you can reduce him, you can move him down, and that's why I think he's a perfect fit for the Eagles. All right, Titans at 11. I want to say receiver here. Their offense needs some juice. I like Treylon Burks, Chig Okonkwo, their tight end that they took in the middle rounds, really flashed last year, but they still need some more juice. So I think a guy like Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, Jordan Addison from USC are possibilities. But then when you look at this offensive line class, they need a left tackle bad. There's 3 good top of the line offensive tackles in this class. Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, and Peter Skoronski. After that, there's talent, but I think there's a big drop-off. And so I think the Titans are sitting here thinking, we got a chance at one of these three guys. Let's take it. And so at this case, it's Skoronski and it's Broderick Jones. I have Skoronski rated higher, but that being said, I think Broderick Jones is going to be the pick. I think he's a better fit for what they want to do. I think they, he's a guy, Skoronski's a guy that I worry is going to have to move inside the guard, which, if you get an all-pro guard here, it's not a big deal. But do you want to take a guard at 11? Broderick Jones, yes, the Titans whiffed big time on a redshirt sophomore offensive tackle from Georgia and Isaiah Wilson, but Broderick Jones is a different prospect, different person. But he's got the athletic ability to play on the edge, but he's a physical mover in the run game. And so that's why I think he fits what they want to do. Even though the Titans have a new offensive coordinator in Tim Kelly, I think Broderick Jones is going to fit. They're still going to run the ball. They're still going to pound the ball with Derrick Henry. There's still going to be a run-first offense. And I think that's going to suit Broderick Jones well because that's his strength, and that'll allow him to develop as a pass protector along the way. All right, Texans at 12, their second first-round pick. I have them going cornerback, and I have them taking Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. Yes, they took Derek Stingley last year at the third overall pick, and he looks to be a stud like we all thought he was going to be. But they could use someone opposite of him. We look at D'Amico Ryans coming over from the 49ers. They love the press man. It's not your typical cover 3 Seattle-style defense. He's adapted it. But having two premier shutdown corners, especially when you don't have the pass rushers, and I don't love the edge rushers sitting here available to them, I think that will really help out this defense quite a bit. All right, Jets at 13. I have them taking Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. Their general manager, Joe Douglas, is another guy that loves to build up through the offensive and defensive lines. Defensive line is sitting pretty good. Once again, there's not a lot of guys available here anyway. And the offensive line, they want to continue to build up. And they got Mekhi Becton coming back, and he's been hit or miss. So drafting a guy like Peter Skoronski kind of helps you out because you could put him at tackle if Mekhi Becton is not who they want to go with moving forward. They could move him inside the guard. And so now you got Becton on one side at tackle, and inside at guard you got Peter Skoronski, you've got Elijah Vera Tucker, and this offensive line is getting stronger and stronger. And they're going to be a run-first team. They got Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator. They've got a stud running back in Breece Hall. They've got some questions at quarterback. They're going to be a run-first team, play good defense, run-first team, take a few shots to Garrett Wilson. That's why Skoronski is a good fit for them. All right, pick 14, New England Patriots. I have them taking Brian Branch. Brian Branch is just a Patriots-style player. Versatile defensive back, could play corner, could play safety, could play lots of different coverages. It's just a typical Patriots, and the Patriots are very hard to mock. You never know what they're doing, and so anytime there's a versatile player available that kind of fits their scheme and fits their multiple schemes, it screams Patriots player. All right, 15, the Green Bay Packers. I honestly believe the Packers are trying to build themselves into the 49ers. LaFleur comes from Shanahan's tree. A lot of the moves he's made is that mirror what the 49ers have done. And who knows, I think their Aaron Rodgers' days in Green Bay may be numbered. But they need to get weapons, and they're not going to take a wide receiver here. But I think tight end is a possibility, and a guy that I think is the best tight end in this class is Oregon State's Luke Musgrave. He's an elite, not elite athlete. He's not Kyle Pitts athlete. But he is a good athlete. He's got good speed to push the seam. He's got good hands. He can go get the ball. And they need that tight end. Robert Tonyan has played well, but he's got a ceiling. And you've got Christian Watson on one side. You've got Romeo Doubs, who they're high on. They're probably going to draft another receiver in the second or third round. Get him a tight end. So whether it's Jordan Love or it's Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback next year, they have another weapon in the middle of the field to move the ball to. All right, Washington Commanders, 16. I honestly had a quarterback here, but the more and more you see, as long as the current regime is in, they seem to really like Sam Howell. And so I have them passing there, and I have them going, in this case, cornerback to Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State. Just get him another physical but athletic corner. I mean, Joey Porter Jr.'s dad was a physical freak, powerful edge rusher. His son's a cornerback now, but he's still got that power. He's got the athleticism. I think he'd fit well with that Commanders defense. 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them going offensive line. I have them going down to Florida. And I have them taking Osiris Torrance, guy that was probably the top offensive lineman at the Senior Bowl. Transfers from Louisiana to Florida to follow Billy Napier. Comes in at right guard there and just solidifies his draft stock. And him moving up from the Sun Belt to the SEC was no problem for him. He goes to the Senior Bowl, continues to ball out. Big, physical. I think it fits with what the Steelers want to do. They want to run the ball with Najee Harris. They want to take shots down the field with George Pickens and Johnson. And I think Torrance gives them some help on an offensive line that needs help. All right. Detroit Lions, pick 18. This is the actual, we're so used to the Detroit Lions picking early that you'd assume that maybe they would, that first pick was theirs, but this is actually theirs. And they got their cornerback early, and this is a team that doesn't have a ton of needs. And I think they could sit here and take best available player, and that best available player might be running back Bijan Robinson. And if you look at the Lions, and Bijan Robinson is extremely tough to mock because it's like he's probably one of the best running backs we've seen come out in a while. But running back is just not a position that you draft as high anymore. So it's hard to mock him, but I think he would be a good fit with the Lions. DeAndre Swift is a guy that's got talent, but they can't really count on. He's struggled to stay healthy. He's been inconsistent. Jamal Williams plays really well for them, but he's not a bell cow back. Plus, he's a free agent. Probably wants to cash in on his record-breaking touchdown season. So with Bijan Robinson is sitting here available, I think he'd be a good fit. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, pick 19. This is where I have them in quarterback. I wouldn't be shocked if they were a little aggressive moving up to get a quarterback. Anthony Richardson is I don't want to say polarizing player. I think a lot of people like him. There's some that say, hey, how can you like Will Levis and say he's got this potential but not like Anthony Richardson? I think you can like both of them. And I know I do. I think Richardson's just got a little bit more to go. But the Buccaneers, now that Tom Brady's gone, I think they're going to be more defense dependent, run the ball. I think that benefits. This would be a great scenario for Anthony Richardson because he can go to a team that I think is, once again, going to be a run-heavy team that helps him. He doesn't have to sit there and drop back in the pocket 50 times a game. They got a good defense. And he's got weapons. He's got Mike Evans. He's got Chris Godwin. He's a mobile quarterback. So he can elude some of that pressure. And I think it's a good fit for him. And he's going into a really good situation. All right, Seattle Seahawks. This is their pick. I'm going cornerback again. They've got a stud guy last year and Tariq Woolen. So I think they go back to it. And a guy that I really like, and I think I like him a lot more than other people, is Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State. He reminds me of a poor man's Sauce Gardner. You know, when you watch Emmanuel Forbes play, his style of play, his movement skills remind me a lot of Sauce Gardner. Now, Sauce Gardner, I guess, was a lot faster coming out. Sauce Gardner was like 6'4". Forbes is 6 foot, so I think that's what kind of pushes him down. But he is an ultra talented corner. I think he'd fit well in Seattle's press man system. You put him in, once again, you've got 2 bookend tackles on offense. Now you're going to have 2 bookend cornerbacks on each side. And Seattle, with another strong draft class, could be looking to kind of boost themselves back up to the top of the NFC. All right, so pick 21 is the Dolphins, forfeited because they're tampering with Tom Brady. And that takes us to the Chargers. Chargers could go lots of different directions. So they try to build up that defense. They go and get a right tackle. They've been rumored to be wanting a right tackle for quite a while. But I think they need to give Herbert some weapons. Mike Williams is an injury concern. Keenan Allen is getting older. Let's get Justin Herbert a weapon. And Jalen Hyatt's a guy that I've been a little bullish on. And I didn't have him going in the first round for a while. And then I saw Lance Zierlein in his mock draft put him, like, I think to the Texans or someone super high. And then he went on Twitter and gave his reasoning, and it made a lot of sense. We've seen, Jalen Hyatt's a burner. He's got elite speed. Not the best route runner. But we've seen guys like him go early in the draft or go in the draft and have success. You know, it's not the same type of receiver, but that was the knock on DK Metcalf. When he was coming out, I still think DK Metcalf fell to the end of the second round mainly because of concerns about his neck. He had missed some time his last year at Ole Miss with a neck injury. But there are some concerns about him and his ability to run routes. But we've learned, he doesn't know he can't run certain routes, so he's not going to run those. And he's still got elite speed to be able to do something and win over the top. And, he shows that he could do that. Will Fuller was another guy. Will Fuller was a guy, injuries derailed his career, but when he was healthy, him and Deshaun Watson had quite the tandem there. And so that mindset got me thinking, Jalen Hyatt's going to go in the first round. And you look at the Chargers. Justin Herbert's got a cannon to throw the ball deep. That would be a match made in heaven. All right, pick 22. The Baltimore Ravens. I have them going offensive line. I know a receiver is a strong possibility, but I think they want to build up this offensive line. Dwan Jones at right tackle from Ohio State. They've got experience drafting these massive offensive tackles, and I know they took the guy from Minnesota, Daniel Falele, last draft. But I think that once again, you've got Ronnie Stanley on the left side. Let's get Lamar Jackson some more protection. Dwan Jones, another star staying out for the Senior Bowl, going right there. Next pick, Kelee Ringo is the guy to the Vikings, cornerback. You know, is one of those things that when Rick Spielman was and Mike Zimmer were running the Vikings, it was cornerback every year. You could just pencil it in, mock draft. They loved their cornerbacks. They'd always take them. You know, the guy from TCU, that's name's escaping me. Mike Hughes they've taken. Jeff Gladney was that guy. They just love to take cornerbacks. And so it was kind of a running joke. But now this team, new regime, but they still need cornerbacks. Cornerback was one of their biggest issues. Keely Ringo, I think, is the best available guy. Fits with what they want to do. Todd Bowles coming in to run their – not Todd Bowles. Brian Flores coming in to run their defense. They're going to be aggressive, press man, lock you up. I think Keely Ringo's got the ability to do that. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars. I have them taking Brian Breezy, the defensive tackle from Clemson. Not only is defensive tackle a need for the Jaguars, but the general manager, Trent Baalke, loves to take guys who have fallen because of various reasons. You know, in San Francisco, his middle round picks were always guys that had missed the season because of ACLs or knee injuries and would have been top picks if they would have stayed healthy. Well, Brian Breezy was a guy that was mocked quite a bit in the top 10. Had some shoulder issues, missed some games this year, didn't have the biggest year, so he's fallen in the draft. I think, you know, he's still a good player. I never thought he was a top 10 player, but to me, it screams a Trent Baalke pick. 25, the New York Giants. I think they need some weapons for Daniel Jones. They got to the playoffs with Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James and all that. And they've got Wan'Dale Robinson come back. But let's get them some more help. And Quentin Johnson from TCU, to me, is the quintessential boomer bust. Here's a guy who, you know, he's got all the talent in the world. He's big, he's fast. But I have questions about his hands. He has too many drops. He doesn't seem like a natural hands catcher to me. Everything he has to let come to him. He doesn't go out and attack the ball and go snatch it out of the air. And that causes some concern for me. But he's still an ultra-talented player. Goes to the Giants and hopefully gives them that number one receiver that they desperately need. All right, 26, Dallas Cowboys. I really wanted to mock them Drew Sanders. I think that would be an interesting defense, putting Drew Sanders and Micah Parsons on the field at the same time. But I think they need receiver. I mean, they got CeeDee Lamb, but what else? Gallup was thought to be the guy that could be a good number 2. He hasn't panned out. Dak's had his best success when he's had multiple receivers. So that's why I think Jordan Addison would be a good fit here. Gives them another weapon, especially another deep threat that they could take the top off the defense. So that's who I have the Cowboys taking there. The Bills, this is, I don't know if a controversial pick, but I really like Andrew Voorhees from USC. I know, Pro Football Focus right here has him as the 131st rated player. I know other people have him not going this high, and maybe I'm in the vast minority, but he's one of my favorite prospects in this class. And when he got hurt in that Pac-12 championship game, USC's offense fell apart. You know, he's a guy that's played left tackle. He's a left guard. He's got the size. He's got good power. He's got good agility. He's got everything you want out of a guard. And I think the Bills continue to need to build up this offensive line, and he's a guy that I think really fits there. Pick 28, Cincinnati Bengals. I think tight end's a good spot to look at here. I really wanted to mock Darnell Washington. He's a guy that I think is going to go in the first round just because a guy his size and his athleticism, you don't see it at all. So I think he's a possibility to go, I think it's a strong possibility to go in the first round. But the Bengals have a type. And their type is usually Big Ten players, but the one exception is Notre Dame. And so I think Michael Mayer would give them that tight end. You know, if you think back to when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, they had C.J. Uzomah as their tight end, had a big year. He moved on to the Jets, and they never truly replaced him. The Bengals have had success. They had success with Tyler Eifert from Notre Dame. They liked that certain type. That's why I think Michael Mayer is a good fit there. All right, last couple picks. Pick 29, New Orleans Saints. This pick has been traded so many times. It was originally the 49ers. They traded it to the Dolphins to move up to get Trey Lance. And then the Dolphins had it. They traded it to the Broncos to get Bradley Chubb. Then the Broncos had it, and they traded it to the Saints to get the rights to Sean Payton. So the Saints have it, and they have lots of needs. There's not a quarterback available. I don't like the defensive tackles here. The guy that I like, and maybe I'm just trying to fit him into the first round, but Drew Sanders from Arkansas. Another player that I watched him on tape, and he really jumped out at me. You know, he went to Alabama initially as a outside linebacker, started some, but transfers to Arkansas. They put him as a stacked linebacker, and he explodes this year. And he is a guy that when I watched him on tape, he's flying around, he's making plays, he's rushing, he's blitzing. To me, he's a perfect fit as a strong side linebacker in Dennis Allen's defense. Kind of you think of that Bruce Irvin type role in Seattle, where you're lined up on the edge, you're over the tight end. He can play in coverage, he can match up to running backs in coverage, match up to tight ends, but then he's got that pass rush ability. And so I think he's a guy that you could put there and be a cornerstone to your defense. Zaven Collins, a guy from Arizona that went in the top 20, reminds me a lot of him too. All right. Philadelphia Eagles, last couple picks. I have them going cornerback. I have them taking Cam Smith from South Carolina. Here's another position that they just continue to add pieces to. You can never have too many good cornerbacks. Cam Smith giving them that. And then the Chiefs, a guy that I think could go a lot higher, but I just didn't have a good spot for him. And that's Nolan Smith from Georgia, just giving them another pass rusher. And just giving them another guy off the edge. You have George Karlaftis last year. So I know defensive end is not technically a need, but whenever you have Patrick Mahomes in this offense, you're going to be playing with the leads. Other teams are going to be passing. So if you can get a guy like Nolan Smith who missed most of the season with a torn bicep, I think he's going to come back. You know, he's a little bit smaller, but he plays a lot bigger. I think he'd be a good fit with what they want to do. Give him another speed guy off the edge and make it difficult for opposing offenses to try and come back when they're down. All right, that's going to go ahead and do it for this mock draft. I hope you like this. Let me know what you think, whether you hate it, you love it, you like certain picks. I was an idiot on other picks. Let me know. Don't care which way it is. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on social media, draft_Brian. Thanks for watching. Until next time.